I was talking to a really good friend of mine recently, and I brought up the idea that I'm not sure in my lifetime if I've ever done anything out of completely pure motives. My motivation always seems to be tended with a little bit of selfishness, a little bit of weirdness. It's always a mixed bag for me. And that brings me to 1 Samuel 15, because in 1 Samuel 15, the Israelites had a huge victory, and God had told them, when you get this victory, I want you to take everything that's there, and I want you to destroy it. I don't want you to keep anything, I want you to destroy everything. But it says in chapter 15, verse 21, that the soldiers took sheep and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was devoted to God, in order to sacrifice them to the Lord your God. Now, that's for devoted to God, we'll have a sacrifice. You got to remember a couple things, and one of them is, in the Old Testament, another synonym for sacrifice is barbecue. Because while they would burn some of the animal and give it to God, they would cook a good bit of the best parts and eat them themselves in a way that was supposed to be honoring to God. But what looked like they were doing something really good was actually selfish. And I wonder in my life right now, I think as I'm trying to examine myself a lot during this downtime, are there things in my life that people around me will look at and go, oh, Steve's sacrificing, Steve's doing, and in reality, I'm doing it for selfish motives. It looks like I'm doing a good thing, and it might even be a good thing, but I'm focused on making sure people think well of me. It looks good, but it may just a way to make me feel better about myself and puff up my pride. And how do you avoid that? Well, later in that same chapter, God says through Samuel to the people, to obey is better than sacrifice. So my first challenge is always just to obey God, to do what I know is right, and then to work on my motives and make sure I'm not doing things that seem like I'm doing the right thing, but I'm doing them for such a wrong reason that it defeats the entire purpose. Because obedience is important, and motivation is important, and recognizing that while my motives never may be 100% pure, I should always be striving to make them as pure as possible. And that's today's Jumpstart.